perfect at all. But it's like the imperfections in people that you learn to deal with and accept, and which kind of brings me back to the whole skinhead thing, where another second big most often asked question people ask me is, well, how did the other skinheads feel about you being gay? And the response is, well, it depends on which ones you ask. Some are like, they don't want to really discuss it or bring about it, like, whatever, dude, they don't want to hear about it. And then you have other guys who are like, so Pedro, when are you get yourself a boyfriend? Some young buck. And it's really cute when they try to hook you up, by the way. There's this one skinhead I know, sweet guy, loyal as can be, thick neck, tattoos down to his wrist, affectionately known as Neanderthal. And the nickname they used to give him was Precious, but people thought it was too cute. They didn't really get it, so Neanderthal kind of really fit. And very short-tempered, and in the pit, he's like a cannonball. He's just like bouncing like a huge, like 200-pound, pinball, knocking people down. And one day we're like talking, and he told me the story about like his first love of his life, this girl that he was with, and how they moved away. He had to move away, and how sad he was, and he would cry and stuff. This is like, Neanderthal telling me this. And then later he would tell me, oh, I know some guy in Pennsylvania that I think you might like, Pedro, and that I just want to see you happy with some guy. And I'm thinking, who are you, and what have you done with Paul? But of course, that's what love is, and you have to and where you deal with people as you find them. And so Paul doesn't necessarily understand the gay thing. He doesn't want to see me trading spit with a guy, but he'd like to see me settle down. He'd think it'd be good for me. So I think the one story I can tell you is about when I was living at this house in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and it was like a skinhead house of pleasure in the late 80s. And by skinhead house of pleasure, it's like a punk rock house, like punks and skins live there, and it's a place for skins to travel when they're like going to a show in another state or visiting family or running from the law. And one day this skinhead named Creepy Gary arrives from the Midwest. And after his arrival, this other skinhead who was living at the house named Ugly Bill these are real names. You just can't make this stuff up, folks. This is real life, right? Soon a major motion picture, right? So Ugly is telling Creepy, who lives in the house, and then he gets to me. Or he says, oh, there's Pedro. He lives upstairs. He's gay, but he's cool. And Creepy's like, what? And Ugly says, well, he's gay, but he's cool. Like, he won't try anything on you. And so there you go. So one day I felt the funny vibe from Creepy. I'm walking down the street, and I feel if you're obviously a member of some minority, you know what the funny vibe is. In about 20 or 30 years, if you're like a heterosexual white male, you'll understand. But I'm walking down the street, and I look to my right, and Creepy's looking at me. And so I'm thinking he's trying to figure me out. So, something will come up. I figure, that'll help, ease things up. And it happened one day where this other skinhead, Brian, he's like bassist in a band called the Bouncing Souls. He was talking to his girlfriend, and I wasn't paying attention, but he used the word queer. And then he turned, I don't know what the context was, but he turns to me and he goes, oh, Pedro, I hope I didn't offend you. And I'm like, Brian, I can't be offended by everything people say. For example, Pedro, would you like a slice of fruitcake? What do you mean by that? And everybody laughs except Creepy. Creepy smiled. I'd never seen that before. Creepy Gary doesn't smile. That's, he's creepy. That's why. So subconsciously, I think this is it. 1 week later, I walk into the kitchen, and there's Creepy Gary standing on the corner, near the sink, and I say, hey, Creepy, you know the difference between a blowjob and a ham sandwich? He's like, no. And I say, really? You want to have lunch tomorrow? Everybody laughs. Creepy smiles. 1 week later, I walk downstairs. There's Creepy, and in walks Brian, and they walk up to each other, and they pound the tops of their fists together, which they learned because they were living in a predominantly black neighborhood, and that's the way the guys greet each other. What do you do when you're a white, middle-class skinhead? You move into a black neighborhood, of course. So they learn, and I'm like, wow, you guys do that too? And they look at me like, what? Well, that's a homosexual greeting. Gay guys do that whenever they meet each other on the street. And they're like, no, are you serious? And I'm thinking, man, I could milk this for about 2 or 3 months. Man, I can have so much fun with it. But no, I'm going to have mercy on that. I'm just joking around. That's not a homosexual greeting. And they pace across the kitchen floor a couple of times, rubbing their fists on their thighs, going, I didn't feel a thing. I didn't feel a thing. A couple of months later, I told the ham sandwich joke again to some other guy, and there was a skinhead there named Mike, and told the joke to Mike, and Gary is there, and ham sandwich blowjob joke. And Gary asked, "So Pedro, have you ever given a guy a blowjob?" And I was like, taken aback at first, but I answered, just being honest, well, yeah. And without missing a beat, Mike says, "Really? Can you teach women?" And at that point, I knew I had arrived. Everything's cool.